Musicplay, and I'm going to be your moderator this afternoon. Today we have Beth Duhon presenting Musicplay Works with Upper Elementary Students Part 2. We're thrilled to have you back and look forward to today's session. Welcome, Beth.
Thank you, Lisa. It's great to be here. You got to love a good sequel, right? So we had a cliffhanger during the last one. Not really, but I had so much material on this and I'm so passionate about this that I went ahead and talked to the team and got permission to come back. So thank you for being here today. Lisa, if it's okay with you, I'll just go ahead and jump in.
You bet. Take it away.
Before I forget my manners, let me do a hearty thank you to the whole Musicplay team. They are the very definition of gracious and kind and have been so generous with me on the platform. I'm wearing my St. Louis shirt. I saw Carrie Lynn earlier wearing her St. Louis shirt. So I'm just a Musicplay super fan, and it's always an honor and privilege to be here, honest to goodness. So I'm so glad you're here. If you have not caught part one of the webinar, I really encourage you to go back and watch the replay if you get an opportunity to, because it addresses a lot of those beginning of the year behaviors that you might be thinking about. And the way that I structured this was really a beginning of the year, middle of the year, end of the year with upper elementary. But just a couple things that are just rattling my brain right now before we get started. If you saw recently on Stacy Werner's blog, she talked about the Make a Circle chant. And I will probably mess it up, but I'm actually in my classroom for a change. Most of the time when I do the webinars, I'm at my home. And that Make a Circle chant and having the sit spots for it this year have been magic. In the past, I still have sit spots in rows, colorful ones in rainbow order. And then this year I have added a circle of black sit spots that delineate my circle. And frankly, I had my kids do it because why not? So it might have looked like the kids do it. But having them in a circle has been just great for the lessons. I admit that when I was in the rows, we kind of stayed in rows, and that was one vibe for the teaching, but doing the circle was a lot different and better. So here's my version of Stacy's Make a Circle chant, which I think might go back to Denise's Make a Circle chant. Make a circle, make a circle, make a circle while I keep the beat. And then I will give them the chance to do that. And they love it as upper elementary students because we're giving them voice and choice. Instead of that assigned seat, which I do need for names and classroom management and all that, it gives them an opportunity, A, to move around the classroom, and B, to choose who they're by. And within reason, as long as that is going well, let's do that. Okay, so we left off around the recorder unit, and my partner teacher and I handle this a little bit differently. She chooses to do it still upper elementary, third, fourth, and fifth grades, and definitely with recorder karate style. Kids are super motivated by that. And I tend to do it as more of a unit in fifth grade in the spring, just a 6-week unit around spring break time when maybe the fifth graders are getting a little bit more antsy. So this is what it looks like for me. So for the recorder unit, it marries beautifully with other resources. My partner teacher uses Artie Almeida's Recorder Express. I actually got to see her live at an Artie and Denise a few years ago, probably the one in DC, Vivace in Virginia. And she presented Buns Cross Hot. I thought it was brilliant. And that's my claim to fame. When the kids bring in their book, I'm like, oh, I met Artie. Yeah, I was there when she taught Buns Cross Hot. And then we do it. So it's a fun moment. It also depends on your grades used, and you'll know, depending on the proficiency, they may just be flying through the recorder. You might be adding things like recorder on ensembles and alto recorder, or it may be a part of your curriculum, but not a big touch point in your curriculum. So it really depends on what grade you're using. I love to put it in the learning management system for home, and I shared that in the other webinar. So if you're curious about that and how it works, have the student code and the access to everything on Musicplay, but I definitely let them know that, hey, those resources are there. So regardless of what you're practicing, it's always great to have more materials to practice with. Okay. The one we're going to get to today is Poison Recorder. I'm going to go ahead and start sharing from my list. There we go. Back to my list. So if you know from
yes. Can you turn your camera off and on? Because right now we can see your screen, but your camera's frozen.
Oh, yes, ma'am.
Okay, I can actually see you now.
Okay, can you see me now?
Yep, you bet.
It's like that. That's the old, can you hear me now?
That's right.
Okay, I'm going to get back. This list is going to be available to you. I sent it to Danae and I made it shareable. So if this is valuable for you, the whole Wednesday webinar from the part 1 and part 2 is going to be available for you as we look. So when I open the Wednesday webinar, this has a lot of the things we reviewed last week. As I scroll on, it's going to take us to, yeah, I see a lot of things we did before. Oh, by the way, if you have not checked out the form tool lately, oh, thank you, Danae. Danae's the best, y'all. She's so on top of it. If you haven't checked out the form tool lately, it was actually, I had not been in it in a while, and they've made a lot of fun changes. I referenced that. I'm going to move my headphones. I referenced that when we were doing the last webinar, but it has made some changes. So let me just talk you through it. There is one that is more primary friendly with the shapes. They've added some fun creatures. That might be fun for like a Halloween theme lesson. The traditional with the letters. And then also one where it's more like a Rockman style with the map of a song with the microphone. Okay. So talking about the recorder unit, this one is a gem. Poison anything on Musicplay, you can almost say is a sure thing, sure bet. So poison pattern for rhythm, poison pattern for melody, poison recorder. I stumbled on this one, and I think it's actually been available for a while because the date is 2015. My students ate it up, and it's really good. I don't know if you have students like this where they can play, everyone can kind of play hot cross buns on the recorder, but when it comes to reading or doing new patterns, they struggle a little bit more. So this was really great because it challenged them to do it. And instead of it being like a play long video, it's a slide. So the way it works, I won't read through the whole thing. You can read, but basically there's a fun character, the mad musician, and the mad musician tells you that one is the poison pattern. So you want to play everything except for the poison pattern. So this is a measure I don't like. You might have them finger through that. A big thing I have been thinking about lately is turn and talks. So when we get graded in Texas, or our rubric for our assessment system for teachers is T-tests. And it is very heavily slanted, rightfully so, towards more student engagement. I find that a lot of times as music teachers, sometimes when we're doing those large class lessons, we get dinged a little bit on the assessment scale because they don't see it as so student centered because we're leading more from the front. So doing a turn and talk is a great way to genuinely get the students talking, because right now, I mean, they're talking anyway, right? I feel like post-COVID, we're talking a lot. So let's harness that. So I simply, with those lined up, I'm looking at them right now, with those lined up, I have 2 rows at a time. I'll say bing and have them face each other. Next 2 rows, bing. And I may have to do a little bit of arrangement, maybe a group of 2, sometimes 3, and have them turn and talk. So I might say something like, okay, talk to your shoulder partner and tell them what the letter names are that are in the poison pattern. Okay, now show me the fingerings. When you've done both of those things and I snap my fingers, face forward. That gets us ready. And that also gives a little bit of nice pairing in a not way that's going to single anyone out. If someone is struggling with left hand on top or the fingerings, sometimes it's a shoulder partner that's gently correcting them or talking them through it, not just a teacher from the front of the room. And like I said, for some kids, that release valve of just getting to talk a little bit, and especially for your English language learners, we talked about this a lot in the former webinar. I have a high population of that in my school. You might as well. So I think it's just a great tool. Okay, so the poison pattern, we are not going to play that. If you play it, you'll take a hike. Okay, not the poison pattern. Okay, keep on going. I guess I should pull out my recorder. This is and you can depend on how much scaffolding your students need. And I believe there's even different levels. So this one's just the BAG. If your upper elementary students are just cruising through life, you might choose a more difficult level. And then you keep on scrolling and then you'll see it. Oh, because we played the poison pattern. See, it got past me. Here's the poison pattern, not marked. You won't be able to tell. And then if you played or not. The way I like to do it is just in any of the poison patterns, whether it's melody or rhythm or whatever, because you don't want the class to go just completely off the rails during the poison, and they will, poison, save yourself. Ah. If you don't want that happening, you want a little bit more control. The way I do it is either you play or you And that simple thing just tells me, I know it's a poison, but I'm not going to make a bunch of sound about it, or you're playing. And I think it is completely fair game to go ahead and try to fake the kids out, right? So grab your recorder, put it to your lips like you're going to play, and tell them that you're not going to do that. So have some fun with it. And another piece of advice that I gave in the last webinar is, and I got this from my Kodai levels, never let the game or activity run out of steam. You will notice that dip or flag in student engagement. And there are times where, you just have to white knuckle it and it is what it is. But more often than not, when you sense that flag in engagement, it's a great chance to change activities. I was talking to my national board mentor today, and she's a music teacher. She is a middle school choir director. And she had such a good insight, and I just wanted to capture it. She said, your bigs, as an elementary music teacher's big kids, our upper elementaries, are our littles. Their sixth graders on their campus are their little kids. Much like on our campus, our kindergartners are on the little side. And I thought that was just such a good perspective shift. So we don't have to be scared of upper elementary. For some teachers and for some levels, they are actually the little ones, the young ones, So just a perspective shift. Our bigs are their littles. And regarding that rule of thumb, I've always been trained, and I think the number's going down, honestly, is that roughly try to keep your lesson pieces close to the number of years of age. So for example, if you are teaching a room of upper elementary, let's say that they're mostly 10-year-olds. So we would never keep a lesson piece probably more than a set of 10 minutes. Or bare minimum, change position in the room, like we talked about the circle, or change a rotation on the instrument, something like that. It doesn't mean you can't dig in and do deeper work, but honestly, depending on your class and depending on the composition of it with the kids, and their musical ability levels and their social ability levels, you may not get a good 10 minutes. You might have to cut that down with some classes to 5 minutes and maybe even circle back again. So if you feel like an activity is losing steam a little bit, you're probably right. If you feel like the behaviors are getting bigger, you're probably right. So go ahead and just keep that instructional pace. That's a huge thing for any level, right? Kinder or fifth. I say fifth because that's the oldest group that we have at our school, but you'll know your campus. When I was in elementary, I went through K through 6. But keep that instructional pace going. A brisk instructional pace and a well-planned lesson plan will really take care of a lot of those problems. Okay, so let's move. Anyway, poison recorder, poison anything, even if I didn't highlight it, it's a hit. I highly recommend. Okay, moving on. I used to do spelling bees. I still don't think I can spell Q. That's just an overshare. That's just me right now. Okay. This is not to exclude our Canadian friends, but Star Spangled Banner is in my learning standards for TEKS for 5th grade. There are lots of ways to do this, and it has to work for you. Sometimes with standards like this, you might consider, do you like my backdrop? My board was just really plain back there, so I dug in my Veterans Day supplies and got myself a patriotic backdrop. So anyway, squirrel, back to the original thing. For Star Spangled Banner, it is actually a learning standard for 5th graders in Texas. There's 2 ways that you might choose to do it. You might say, you know what, this would be a good one-off day lesson for maybe we have just, those awkward times where you're not having enough time for the full rotation, and you just do it on the lessons where it fits in throughout the year till every section has achieved it. I'm on a 6-day rotation, so I'm probably not going to take a 6-day rotation on Star Spangled Banner. I could do it a couple ways. I could just do a little bit until I've covered the standard for several weeks, maybe even for a grading period until it's covered, or I could make it part of a one-off lesson, and either way is totally acceptable. So recording here, if you ever need a good Star Spangled Banner recording, you know what? Actually, I have used one before. A few years ago, we invited the ROTC, and I wasn't aware that they needed the Star Spangled Banner for their ceremony. So Musicplay, once again, saved my bacon because I was easily able to pull up here. I knew it would be well performed. I knew it would be quality, and click on it, and there we go. Okay, so this is a fun one. There are lots of different things with it. I'll take you through it. This one is the activity, and I love Musicplay because it's a menu, right? You can find the activities that best fit you and your students, your energy level, your mood, what they respond to, your amount of time. So lots of options for Star Spangled Banner. This one is literally sort the phrases, and what you're going to do is just use an up or down arrow. This is also a really, even for adults, let's be honest, That vocab is a lot, like a lot. So if your students are wondering about ramparts, so am I. And so this is a great opportunity to go through and really know what we're singing when we sing. And it's also a great tie-in for audience manners, because all of that, like I said, we know there's a very certain etiquette for Star Spangled Banner, and Music Play will address that. But the first activity is literally sorting the phrases. So you have to think, okay, which is first? Oh, say, can you see? Or oh, say, does that Star Spangled Banner yet wave? And I'm going to go ahead and just keep it down until it goes to the top. Let's see how I do. So I would keep on adjusting until that is all the way up to the top, and we would get them. So you're going to just flip it and see which line goes first as you click through. But great one. And I would say for this, there's a lot of ways. Yes, the activities are good for big groups, but you can also make it a small group, depending on the tech on your campus. If you have a class set or even half a class set, or can borrow some technology that day, maybe a class set of iPads, maybe class laptops, depending on what the needs are for your campus. You could put people in those same small groups that we use for the Think, Pair, Share and have them on a device. And of course, you're going to walk through the room and monitor the device, and that could be their assignment. And then maybe you could have them screenshot it and submit it to you on your learning management system or something like that. Or it could be the whole class, and maybe the student choice piece is that they pick each other to come up. Or the student choice piece, we talked about this a lot when we were first meeting about webinars this year with engaging upper elementary, is teams, competition, teams, scores, girls versus boys, red versus blue, until you just get that competition amped up a little bit. And you'll know your students, and you'll know, okay, how much can they handle? Is it just right stimulation for them, or is it a little overstimulating for them? You'll know what that looks like. So sorting the phrases. Okay. This is just, as you click through, just information about the Star Spangled Banner. Maybe, like I said, that could be some individual work on a day where, I don't know about your campus, but for our campus, we need it quiet for testing. Both music rooms are right in the hub of the school, which is great. We like to be included. But gosh, during testing, literally they're saying everything has to be on a 0. How does that work when you're teaching music? Well, if you have an assignment like this for your students, it's still meeting your TEKS, it's still music, even though we're not doing loud, active music making like a folk dance with sticks like Los Machetes, or loud singing games. This is a way you might still be able to get things done that you need to get done and want your students to know. And I learned, honestly, okay, and you'll click through and it will tell you just all about it, including the lyrics. And this is the opportunity where I take to go through and literally take some of those words that are a little bit challenging for students and define what they are. No more singing the wrong words at the baseball game, am I right? Then there's a quiz, and of course that humor at Music Play shines through. So what do these words mean? Dawn, is it early morning, dish soap, or girl's name? And it's okay if the kids ham it up a little bit. Oh, I don't know. Is it early morning or dish soap? It's okay. Let them have some fun with it. And like I said, even the quizzes are fun and lighthearted. So you would go through that as a class. So that could be a unit, that could be individual. You know what that looks like for you. And always looking for opportunities to take those small groups. So you could always say, turn and talk to a partner, which you think perilous means. Name a word you don't know and talk to your partner about it. What are the first 3 words of Star Spangled Banner? Go. You can always do that. Keep it light, keep it moving. And also included in here, I did not put it in the webinar, but you can find it if you just literally click. I'm going to show this to all of you if you're not familiar. I think a lot of you are probably Music Play super fans like me, so you're familiar. If I just click on the song used, it is not just the song. So anything like that. So if you're wanting a lyric video, your accompaniment video, maybe just a notation. So much there in that one page. So go ahead, if you have any of these things and you're curious at all, go ahead and click on there and then click on through, and you might be surprised how you use it. And it's also going to tell you the units. It's so well cross-referenced, y'all. It's ridiculous. And so maybe you're like, I don't have a lot of devices, Beth. What then? Then maybe you would click on the printable. And that would just be you. And you literally go to the copier and you make a packet. And that is your testing activity for upper elementary. And you know that it's worthwhile and has value, even if you don't have one-to-one devices. Or maybe for a lot of us right now in Texas, we are testing more online. And so they're not encouraging us just to pull a lot of internet with our devices, or sometimes we're sharing devices across the campus, right? So sometimes back to the pencil and paper way is great. Just a pro tip on that, the supply I always have in my closet is a box full of sharpened pencils and clipboards. They will come in handy more than you know. So that is how you would go through it. Like I said, I won't exhaust it right now. That'd take our whole webinar, but get curious. And when you click through, I am sure you will find something that you like and you use. I mean, for heaven's sake, we have it in 2 different keys. Do you want it in G? Do you want it in A? Do you want piano or vocal? A lot going on there. Okay. Instrument families are a big deal, and we just got done as a campus scheduling for our feeder programs to come and visit us. So the way we handle it here is a date in December. Our middle school band, orchestra, choir, and theater, so everyone but visual art, will come and see us and perform for the students. And that is a great educational tool and also a great recruiting tool. And I do not want my kiddos to go in there and be the school that does not know the instrument families, right? So once again, you might say, hey, we do this little by little. We sprinkle it throughout. We do it organically as it comes up with a listening lesson or not. Or maybe, sorry, I'm going to make myself a quick note. Or maybe you literally do it as a unit. Like I said, maybe it's just a one lesson and you go through your rotation like that. Or maybe it is that you do a one-off instrument family unit. Okay. This is old school, but this is one of my favorite ways to do it. I'm going to show you what I've got. Okay. Literally the videos. And I will let you look at those on your own. But there is a well-narrated video on woodwinds where they will go through each of the families, each of the instruments in the family with a good characteristic sound demo and talk about it, right? Talk about how it was invented, if you're the saxophone, or the origin of it, or, you know, wood, metal, any of that type of stuff. So I will give them kind of my elevator spiel. I'll say, okay, here's my thing about woodwinds. They have a lot of keys. Yes? Yes. Sometimes made of wood, but maybe metal. Yes. Yes. And then I could even pause on this screen and say, before we even watch the video, if you can name one of these instruments, raise your hand. They are excited to do it. So they will go up and name it one at a time. And if you can do a point system, that's all good. And then we play it. And if they don't, that's okay. Oh, you said that's bassoon? Well, let's see. And then you just literally play the 2-minute video. The video is not teaching for you, and we're not doing a 45-minute video, but how long would it take me to curate, characteristic videos for 5 members of the woodwind family? Or do I click on Musicplay Online and let it be part of the assessment? If you want to assess, now this is actually, all of this is housed in the units under instruments of the orchestra. So the way you would do that is over here on the left. I hope you can see my cursor. When you go to the units, looks like a book, you'll click there, and it is alphabetical order. That's where the happy birthday unit is. That's where a lot of those things are housed. And so you'll literally click on instruments of the orchestra. So right now I put woodwind just for the example piece. But you would play through the video. This is a cool feature, and this might be new. Looping the video, that's kind of fantastic. So that will be wonderful maybe if you're at an open house. We have that coming up tomorrow night, don't know about y'all. If you're at an open house or something, or maybe you're doing a display and you wanted to show it, I think having it on a loop would be fabulous. So that's woodwind family. But now they've gone through and assessed. So this is how they handle the assessment. Literally, you don't have to sit down and write an assessment on the woodwind family when it's time to gather grades for your grade book or information for your classes. Part of National Board right now is really big on assessment, to the point that we need to create our assessments. And sometimes I think that is desirable and necessary. And sometimes I think, wow, that's another place where Musicplay really shines, because they know, they've been there as music educators. They know that maybe we don't want to sit down and write an assessment. We're lucky to get to the copier and get something copied for an assessment, or get all the 800 plus students on our roster assessed for something like that. So can you name the instruments of the woodwind family? Let's see. Well, I'm a brass player. We'll see if I can. Okay, so literally, I love the wrong answers. They always crack me up. And let's see what happens when we're correct. Oh, please play the audio. Okay. My audio is turned off just for sharing purposes. It was a little tricky. So what you would do is there's a play button here. You would literally play the audio of the clarinet. I think the clips are the same for all the examples. And then the students would choose from there. Moving on. So on and so forth. And then it would let you know, easy assessment, right? Another way I like to do this, and I will show you as we go on throughout the webinar. By the way, you are welcome, and please do. When I present, I really don't normally have it be like, it's just me talking for 60 minutes. Let's get excited. You are welcome to put your questions in the chat. Lisa will be covering that for you. You are welcome to, like I said, get on Musicplay if you have more than one screen and browse along with me. If you're like, wow, okay, I want to check out the instruments of the orchestra unit, go ahead and click on that so you can do it. You could take notes. You could just be thinking about what this might work like for your context. I was reviewing my webinar last night just to say, okay, what did I really cover? What do I still need to cover? I like to say so. I counted about 50 times that I said so. It's fine. Everything's fine. What I would say is make it work for your context. Someone asked a question and she was talking about her rotation, and it just brought to mind to me how different our contexts are. You literally might be, I was raised in rural Illinois, and so it was K through 6 in the same building. My band director was my choir director and my elementary music teacher. And I just saw her this summer. I forgot to tell you that, Danae. And, that was the context. And I had roughly, like my graduating class, the number changes every time you ask me, but like roughly 37. And then here at my school, I see my students every 6 days. And my partner teacher also sees them every 6 days, if that doesn't make your head explode. And we have north of 800 students. But you may be somewhere different there. We have all different teaching contexts. So you really need to make it, do you have a partner teacher? How many students do you have? What are your state standards that you're following? What's your district scope and sequence? What is fitting for all that when you're teaching? But I will say for sure, Musicplay just fits all of it. And one of my favorite conversations with Denise was, I was kind of sheepish. I'm like, Denise, I don't think I could teach without Musicplay. She's like, I don't think I could teach without Musicplay. And I just thought that was such classic Denise. I'm like, hello, you kind of created the whole thing, Denise, but okay, you couldn't teach without Musicplay either. So just to give you a little bit about instrument families of the orchestra, you might choose to start your class with this every day. That'd be a great bell ringer. Maybe that gives me a great idea for my next lesson sequence. Thank you. Maybe this is when your students are coming into the room, maybe this is your bell ringer on the board. And maybe you're covering a different instrument family every week. That would be fabulous. The other thing I saw that's new, like I said, Musicplay always has new. And I'm a super fan. I feel like I keep on top of it, and there's still new I don't know about. I saw something about Composer of the Month. That will be another fabulous thing to do, and another link you could do. In Texas, we have UIL and we have music memory. Think about like your college music history class, and think about Drop the Needle if you're old enough that there actually was a needle. They still called it Drop the Needle, even though most of my stuff was on cassette or CD by the time I was in college. But still, that ages me a little bit. But literally, you could use the composer information on Musicplay, and you could play the UIL music memory selection at the beginning of every class as you come in. Along that same lines, this also hit my brain. This is another one from Stacy, and this was a nugget that she gave to you at the St. Louis Symposium, and I took it with me. That's the thing about when you go, you will always get those fabulous nuggets in person when you go back and you watch a webinar. And if you have not had a chance to go to a symposium, I strongly encourage you to go. I had not. So the last one, I went to Vivace in Virginia, which has been a minute. And then I went to the one in St. Louis, and I was like, what have I been sleeping on? This is great. So if you have the budget and the time and the resources, my former district gave grant help for travel grants for conferences. Sometimes if you have a robust PTO, they might be able to give you some assistance if that's your savings goal. I always feel like if there's a will, there's a way. So if you are able, get to those conferences. But what I was going to say, long story short, a little rambly here, is Stacy suggested the track from Minecraft by Jack Black, always an excuse to have a Jack Black song, is I Feel Alive. That was my steady beat assessment when my students first came in for the year. And it helped because you think you get cool points with the kids for having Minecraft. You do. Does it have a steady beat? Oh, yes. I actually, so sometimes I will do it with a masterwork. Last year's, I started with Stars and Stripes Forever, which was fantastic and which led into my Veterans Day celebration. But this year, I chose I Feel Alive, and that puppy has a steady beat. Now, warning, I didn't realize it, but he does say hell of a fight. So, or hell of a foe, something like that. If that happens, you can skip past it, you can talk over it, or you can choose something else. So I Feel Alive is what we're kind of talking about. But great steady bait, great assessment tool. And when you get those students in the room for the first time, it is a great way to know, just like Whoop Ball, we talked about the former webinar, this steady beat assessment is just, it's almost like a Missy Strong Move It, if you follow Dr. Missy Strong, a great music educator. Basically, you are just doing gross motor, non-locomotor movement, and the kids do what you do. And I say that chant that we talked about last time. I say the level is a 0. We move to the beat. We move our body safely, or else we have a seat. That's pretty much a starter. We push play, and I am fist pumping to I Feel Alive. And maybe I'm shoulders and twist. And that gives me a lot of information right there. I can tell what students are comfortable moving to the beat, which ones follow the directions with the 0, which ones are enthusiastic and my leaders, which ones are going to need a little bit more encouragement, a little bit more coaxing, which ones are here for it, which ones are not. So much information with that simple one. And honestly, depending on your gradebook needs and how many assessments, and also, like I said, your personal grading, you could just do a quick check plus, check minus type of thing to see how people did on that assessment. And all of a sudden, you're getting data and grades that first day of school. Okay, back to the regularly scheduled program. We're around the halftime show. Anybody have any questions in the chat, or are we good? Seeing none.
We are doing good right now, Beth. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Lisa. Let's move on. Okay, so you can go to the instruments of the orchestra unit. Everything is housed there. So much rich stuff, like literally audio clips. You have coloring sheets. I love, now, upper elementary, maybe not so much, but I do love to have a good coloring sheet on hand. We have a bonus time called PLC for professional learning communities, where you'll literally have your students twice in one day. So sometimes for your younger ones, I know that's not what we're talking about right now. It is really nice to have an opportunity for them to color while they listen to some masterworks. If it is May and it is PLC and you can tell that they are done, or you want to have some advocacy and you want them to have something to put in their backpack that they can show mom and dad that they made in music class, because classroom teachers have a steady stream of that all day long. Great way to do that. So this is just taking you through the families and all, like I said, all of that alone is just for woodwind. And if your internet goes out that day, which hush our mouth, we don't want that to happen to anybody. But if your internet or your power would ever go out, literally, last year, I was on the choir tour with my co-teacher and the choir, and my poor sub, the power went out, the smart board went out, and there was a fire drill in the rain in the middle of the day. It was the worst sub day ever. So having some sub plans that are really bulletproof like that, I think is a great idea if you can. Even just having Musicplay for sub plans is a great thing. Having a stack of things that are copied for your grade levels is really a smart play. It might be that Star Spangled Banner unit. It might be these Woodwind family worksheets. It is a little bit of a drag to go down to the copier and copy enough for all your fifth grade students back to back and staple, and you have to have paper and all that. But that amount investment is such good insurance, and you will never be sad you have that in your closet ready to go. So kind of a low-tech option there we have. Okay. Once again, I have noticed, I don't know if you have, we're testing this week for MAP testing, which is our beginning of the year testing on the campus. I can almost tell it when I meet them outside my door to come in. And this is not a bust on the students. You could just tell they've been testing and they're done. Or or like maybe if you, I don't know, you live in Canada and you're having it frigidly cold and there's not an outdoor recess. Or you're in Houston and it's actually too hot to go outside, or it's too rainy in Seattle, or your life. Always a great thing to be able to do the learning in an active way. And I feel like your administrator, I am not an administrator. That's called no thanks. Uh, I'm not an administrator, but I would say that if you can learn something and teach something in a more active way, so much the better, right? We are fans. I noticed this on the web page for Musicplay, active music making. The more you can do active music making, the more they look into your room and they want to come in there. If you feel like, man, they're on their pockets in one spot on zero an awful lot, I think that's preventable and easily preventable. And Musicplay has done the heavy lifting for you. So literally, you can play four corners. With my audio, it might be a little funny, but here's your instructions. So this is no heavy lift. Label each corner of a room a number from 1 to 4. You could stick up a piece of paper, friend, with a hand-drawn number if you're not fancy like me. I have music stands. I was gifted with a lot of music stands, which is fantastic. You could literally tape a 1 printed out or 2 for each corner of your room. Every corner receives an instrument. When the game says go, students have 5 seconds to move to one of the 4 corners. Y'all, they love 4 corners. When I came to my old campus, the very first question they asked me, not my name, not how old I am, are we going to play 4 corners? So whatever music teacher was there before me was seriously rocking some 4 corners, and the kids love it. So go ahead and add that to what you're doing, and it's going to give you some time. So let's go ahead and play if we don't have the audio. Should this game label the images? We'll say yes. And start. Okay. Now you probably can't hear my audio, but you can see how we've given different ones to each of the 4 corners. I push play. And one of these, I'm old enough that like Sesame Street, one of these things is not like the other. I go ahead and choose. Okay. It really does the playing for you. So say that there is a day that you are like, whew, I am here, but I'm not feeling well. I'm here because it was too late to put in a sub, and life happens like that, right? You slept like garbage the night before, and you need something that is going to teach the standard, but it's not going to be a lecture recital type of day, which is maybe actually better. So instrument families, 4 corners, they will love it. And like I said, so many things about Musicplay. I just feel like there is so much payoff for very little investment of time and energy. Musicplay is not teaching my classes. We talked about this mindset shift in the last webinar. I'm teaching my classes, thank you. But to have some ready resources like that are engaging and teach the standards, and having so many choices to teach the standards, I really think you can find something that is going to fit you and your teaching context and be appropriate. All right. So I think y'all can figure out 4 corners. And so we would go through until everyone sits down. And like I said, and for your assessment, could you literally watch 4 corners with your roster and mark down, and like I said, literally for me, sometimes when I'm assessing, so I would have a rubric, right? My district provides a lot of them where it talks about, understands instrument families on multiple attempts or things like that. I could literally assume that if most of the class is going to the correct corners, but there are 3 who aren't, I could literally just note that down. Or there are 3 who are excelling and telling me about the brand of the bassoon that they play and their, the double reeds they're making. Maybe they are excelling and they need a little bit more differentiation. But I love that Musicplay just handles it for us. And they're always great resources. So this could be an easy assessment. I'm always looking for easy assessments, and justifiably so. I think as music teachers a lot, we're like, whew, assess, I've got hundreds of kids. Are you kidding me? And I agree. But I don't think it lets us off the hook. So when you do those easy roster assessments or those easy seating chart assessments, where you're literally marking down, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4 on your rubric, or plus, plus, minus, those type of things, based on what you observe from four corners on that day, that's not too bad. And if you have the right sub, could they totally execute instrument family four corners? Yes. We have a sub on our campus. She is a doll. She's also the PTO president, so I trust her a lot. You know you and your sub. But like I said, I think this could really, with the right instructions, could definitely be a winner. And the My List can be a good way to do that as well. Okay, moving on. Okay, right on. Coconut Chaos. So we're moving on to the games. I think the games are just gold. And there are so many different ways to do this. And right now, my mind is on subplans. Search me why. But I really like to front load this at the beginning of the year within reason. And this might be good for maybe, like I said, that PLC time where maybe we're not doing our meaty lesson, but we are doing some music enrichment and some fine arts activities that still have value. So one of the things with this is, like I said, depending on your technology, you could have a QR code you scan that sends you to Musicplay. You could have a button on your home screen that you've added for Musicplay that will take them straight to it. You can have your student code posted. Like I said, you could have the QR code, whatever it takes to get the students in there. And then you could literally have your playlist. Mine took them straight to the games. So literally, boop, and I'm in the games. And you could assign them Coconut Chaos. Maybe I have 45-minute classes. Once again, that's one where it's all over the map, right? You might see them half hour twice a week. You might see them once every 6 days for 45 minutes like me. And maybe you want the first half hour to be more a traditional Kodai-inspired lesson written in that framework, but the last 15 minutes are centers. I have a supervisor who talks about that. I think it's brilliant. It kind of checks both those boxes and gives a lot of student voice and choice. And then you're setting up the centers. So maybe Coconut Chaos is one of your centers. And maybe you are one of the centers that they stop at too. So you can really assess with the note naming and things. Like I said, a lot of times as music teachers, and I'm growing in this way, I don't know about you, small groups are good, and small groups and centers are encouraged on the campus. And sometimes the music teachers are the last ones to the party, right? Because we have so much going on with a large group instruction for performances and things. But if you feel like, man, I'm a little tethered to my smart board, I'm a little tethered to the large group, don't let anyone tell you that Musicplay is just watching videos. It is not. Musicplay teaches the teacher, and then the teacher teaches the students. And so with Coconut Chaos, like I said, you could push it out to the devices individually. You could assign it. You could have them in the small groups. You could have them in centers. For this one, you could do the lines only. You could, and then with the menu, you could do I like to do the practice mode just when they're first doing it. When I'm feeling a little risky, sometimes I will start with a trustworthy student and have them get started on it. And then I will have them pass it off to another. What I love is that they double dip on the concepts too. So when you start something with Coconut Chaos, and you won't hear my audio, that's okay. When you start, it's going to start, and it's also going to give them tempo terms. Okay, so we're going to skip it. Sometimes I don't like to skip it. But see how it literally is reinforcing on there the tempo terms? If you saw it, it started with Largo. So I'm going to have to pause it. Okay. There we go. Okay. Okay, I might have to get rid of the old Coconut Chaos just a second. Well, but so engaging, and this is just the lines. So if you have students that are having that problem, cool, and then you can mute it, which is what I'm going to be doing. Okay, but you literally could have them go up, and the kids would be going crazy right now. They'd be like, "You're losing," but it reinforces those tempo terms, and then you could just do lines or spaces. So many options there. So I'm going to show that to you just a little bit. Let's go back. Let's go back to the menu. Okay. So on that game, and you could literally get to it just by games, or you could add it to my list. when I start, there's all sorts of options here. So you may not be familiar, but who does this for you? Musicplay does this for you. So you literally, if you were starting a recorder and you just really wanted them doing BAG, you could limit it just to those three. No problem. As you add on, you could just make this recorder centric, right? As you need new notes, you add it on, but we're not getting overwhelmed with the whole staff. Or if you have a friend where maybe reading note names is really a challenge for them, you could reduce the scope of the assignment. And if you have someone who's been playing piano since they were 3, not my history, but maybe some of y'all, they could literally do, bass clef full staff, no problem there. So it's so flexible, and even a cool way to do your solfege. So something simple is not simple and has a lot of options. Another way, this might be an unpopular opinion, but one of the ways I like to teach it, when I was teaching lessons, I'm a former French horn lesson teacher for a long time, like 13 years. And so when I would teach, I was not so much a line in a space. Some people are, no judgment. And in here, I've been a little bit of a line in a space. But if you go to full staff and you teach them some spot placement, like they know where G is and they know the musical alphabet and it starts over, I like teaching them in such a way that they find out the G and they count up or down from G using the musical alphabet instead of necessarily just memorizing lines or spaces. Because then my thought is, well, what about ledger lines? What about all of that? What about different clefs? So I feel like it's a good flexible way to learn it. And if you choose to do that, you could just go ahead and go straight to full staff, or even this with the C, D, E, F, G. All right, I need to get back to my list, y'all. There we go. Space Music Adventure. Okay, the one that I focus on note naming here because we talked about having the people who are coming to your program, right? And when you are talking about your feeder programs, as an elementary music teacher, I really feel responsible to my feeder program, and I really want to send them the best that we can. And I do not want to be the program in my feeder that does not go up there knowing note names or note values or instrument of the orchestra or any of those things. I don't want them saying, no, my colleagues would not do this, but I don't want them saying or thinking, what were you learning in elementary music? I want them saying, you know what? Your campus kids are the best at instrument families. I haven't seen anything like it. That's what I want. And that's what I really emphasize with my upper elementary students while we're working with them, is that we're skill building. And I always tell them, man, we don't have time for any mess in 5th grade. We have got to, we're choosing our elective next year. We are, all of that type of stuff. Okay.
Hey, Beth, just want to give you a heads up. We're about 15 minutes left.
Okay. Thank you, Lisa. Are we going to do Q&A here in a few minutes?
So far we're good. Just, okay. I want to see what else you've got here.
Your accent is beautiful, by the way.
And I don't even think we have one, right?
That's right.
I love listening to you talk.
So Space Music Adventure, note naming, great stuff, but it's not just note naming. But you do need to be a little careful there. Let me show you what I mean. Because it's so robust, if you're not careful, sometimes when students click, they will just click on Music Math Level 1A, and that's not necessarily what you want. So you're going to encourage them, depending on the device, to go ahead and scroll down. You might want the music math, or you might say, you know what, I want to send them off to middle school with a solid understanding of dynamics, but not me up there droning about dynamics, So this is a way that they can do it with tech. And it's very engaging with if you haven't checked it out, check it out. Very engaging with that. So with the note naming, you get to choose. Once again, they have the recorder options. They have all the way, bass clef with ledger lines. This thing will grow with you and do what you need. Honestly, I'm not always bold enough to tell people this, but here's what I think. Man, middle school choir directors, band directors, if you have your kids who need to learn some bass clef note names, get a subscription to Musicplay and assign some of the games. right? I think it could be tremendously helpful as you're going through. So let's just play a quick round. You won't have the music, so we're going to skip the music math, and we'll go ahead and stay in the, you know what? Let's not do note naming. Let's do a little bit of dynamics. All of this is in your My List, and you should have access to it like Danae gave you access to if you want to get a little deeper. Just an organizational piece. I did a webinar, it's been a minute for y'all, maximizing music play with a happier music teacher. I encourage you, if you enjoyed today, go ahead and look at back some of the other ones. They're still there. I have one, self-care for the music educator. I have happier music teacher. That is my theme. That's also the title of my book and podcast. I am maximizing music play. And then I have, yes, music play works with upper elementary 1 and 2. I would encourage you with My List. This is such a great organizational tool if you're not currently using it. So I put all the Wednesday webinar materials in here, and you could copy it and make it your own and add or subtract as you'd like to, or just add it. Let's give you a good example. Maybe this was, so that if we're looking at some of the subplans, this is telling me, right? So this is an outside resource. And then this is telling me what I was going to use a Hoperman sphere for some vocal warm-ups. And then the students were going to choose the dynamic level and the tempo for our stretches. Another great one for upper elementary. Let them choose. Choose a tempo, choose all that stuff. And I just put them in here in the order that I see my classes. So you can literally see that week I was rocking some rhythm composition. I was rocking some poise and rhythm. I'm getting a little stuck in the game, so I'm going to go ahead and scoot on. So we won't play Space Music Adventure, but get in there, okay? You will enjoy it. They will too, and you will be surprised. I like to say when they get the game days, I make a list. You may play Don't play a kinder game, you know, but these 5 you may play and only do the note naming. Or you may choose any of these upper ones, but only choose tempo or dynamics. Incidentally, my goal, in Texas, we have student learning objectives, so slow. The slow goal 1 year for me was tempo, and I literally made a My List of just resources for music play on tempo and had plenty to spare. And that was and I pulled my assessment straight from music play and did great on my slow. Okay. Trivia wheel is great. Once again, make sure when you do it that it says notes on the staff. You may need to get in there. If it's saying like fruit and vegetable rhythms, those are great for your littles, maybe not so much for your bigs. So you may need to dig in there a little bit for trivia wheel. But I love that feeling when you go around the room and they're having a good time and giggling. Love it. Rhythm Racer, another good one. This one is going to have, this is a great review. This is a great month of May, month of June, depending on how your calendar works, where it's not dry rote and it's competition. And so we're incorporating like the black snake rhythms that we were using before, T-ta-T. You can really see who knows what's up and who does not with that. Okay. Match the melody. I think this one is a winner, and I do it in a way that's a little different than some of y'all might do. So yeah, I'm gonna have to rush. I hate rushing. That's okay. I'm gonna show you some of these tools. Match the melody is under games, and say that you are first doing, I'm gonna start level, okay. I really try to stretch this, and I can make it a whole class activity, and I'm super here for it. With the voice, it is a trained voice, right? And so I'm going to let the students know that this is how we're looking to sound. This is the trained voice. Or so you could choose a keyboard or the voice to play it. And I take them step by step. I will say, okay, so if you have been doing solfege this year and you're wanting to assess their reading, or maybe, you know what, you're having to cram it a bit, but you definitely want them familiar. In a perfect world, right? We are doing the full Kodai sequence year by year, but if life got away from you a bit, or maybe you are new to your campus and your upper elementary they're actually beginners in solfege, some of these can be great ways to get them rocking and rolling with that in a way that doesn't feel like work. So on Match the Melody, you would play one of these. And the first step I'd say is, okay, step 1, just listen. And someone might go, nope, just listen. So we listen to the example. Step 2, and you could make this fit you and your personality and your students. I say, get your special magic marker finger or whatever it is for you that might be too babyish, pretend your finger is a sparkler or a lightsaber or whatever it is, and trace the outline. So I'm going to assume this is one. Lisa, I'm not sure you didn't sing these examples, come to think of it. Okay, so you're going to trace it in the air. Da, 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 da. And then some of them are automatically want to vote. And you're like, nope, trace it again. Now, silently vote with a 1 or 2, which one you think matches. You will, once again, you will get so much information there. A lot of them will be like, and you'll know exactly who can know that and what's going on and who cannot. I even stretch it a little bit more than that, and I use it as a way for lines and spaces. So number 1, here is my shorthand for space, and here's my shorthand for line, and I have all of them do it. And so I'll say, okay, first note on both of them, is it a line or a space? So they'll show me, right? And then I'll say, okay, next one, is it higher or lower? And then and that next one, is it a, and they'll show me. So I do a lot of nonverbals. I do a lot of thumbs up, thumbs down, side thumb, all of that stuff to really stretch it. Anyone can push, keyboard, and then, oh, which one is it? Right, wrong, bam. And I really feel like it's so much richer than that. So don't sleep on Match the Melody. I think it is a great resource for y'all and your students. And like I said, I think you can just get a lot out of it. You could even pause your smartboard and have a student write the letter names up there, right? Or pause your smartboard and have them write it in solfege. So literally one slide from Musicplay like this, especially with the audio, you can stretch it for miles.
Mm-hmm. We have about 4 minutes left.
Okay. Lisa, I can keep on. Do y'all have any announcements, or you want me just to go up to the buzzer? Because I can do either.
Right now, we don't actually. So yeah, carry on.
Okay, right on. So that's Match the Melody. I hope that makes sense for y'all. I really enjoy that resource, and I really enjoy seeing that aha moment when kids are actually audiating and actually reading what's going on for the pattern and teaching them how to read it. And then another step is I will go ahead and have them do the hand signs. So we will go in and start, the low hanging fruit there is I see, so me. So have them show me, so me. And then I give them nicknames, all of that kind of stuff. We talk about the principles. If so is on a line, me is on the line below. If so is on a space, me is on the space below. So we're getting them to not, like the logical thinking piece, which your upper elementary students are here for. Last one, and I think this is a fun one. We may not make it to melody composition, but for rhythm, for sure. You know your students, and you know what they can do. And like I said, you may be new to a campus where literally maybe they weren't reading much rhythm, so it works with you. And I love that it does not, nothing about the interface is childish. Okay, so if you're doing level 2, okay, they do video games on level 2. It's fine. There's no problem there. So if they are really at level 2, and this is our first year that we are doing 1 sound or 2 sound and ta and TT and rest, okay. And if not, and maybe we're doing level 12, I'm going to be honest, I've never made it to level 12 with my upper elementary students. But I mean, if I had been on a campus long enough, and you see them frequently enough on your rotation, I sure hope you do. Or for our colleagues with even older students like middle school, I think it's excellent. So what I would end up doing for my end of the year with my upper students is here. And I just say it's a big choice. Okay. I'm like, there's no wrong answer. I stress that a lot with composition. Okay. There's no wrong answer. Here's your rules. Do you want 1 sound, ta? So you see how I'm kind of loading in the review there. 1 sound, ta. 2 sounds, TT. 4 sounds, ticka ticka or tippy tippy or whatever you like to label it in your counting system. T ticka. You might have had that if you use Chester with your kids. Ticka T. T ta T. 2, 2, 2. And I take the time. I'll literally pause the smartboard and I'll connect the rest so they see what's going on and the note and the corresponding rest. Okay. I am going to call that good for tonight. Thank you so much for having me. I'm the happy music teacher, Beth Duhon. If you have any questions, I look forward to them, and have a great night.
And Beth, you know what? I actually do have a question for you. You mentioned on your slide about a treasure box giveaway in an emergency. What is that?
Oh, okay. Um, have you ever had, I know you never have, but maybe me, uh, you know that they show up at the door and you know this is not going to go well. You know, things are going not well before they even come in your room, and they haven't even come in your room yet. So when that happens, I will use a randomizer, like when you do the giveaways where it picks a random number for you. So I will literally tell all the kids, okay, we're going to do a giveaway. One of y'all is going to get a prize today if you're doing the right thing. If not, we'll take our lumps next time. So I will kind of low key number the spots in my room, and we'll agree on what number everyone is. And I will pull up, you know, like the random number generators. Are y'all with me? Where it picks a number for you. So I will plug in, okay, we have 26 kids and we don't push the number until the end. And that will tighten some stuff up like nothing else. And then at that point, we push the number and it's like, hey, number 7, congratulations. Go choose something from the treasure box. And the treasure box is literally, you know, pencils I got from the dollar store, giveaways from the teacher's lounge, music stickers that I got in a big pack from Amazon. And so that will tighten it up like nothing else. So in case of emergency, use the treasure box giveaway.
Yeah, those things are always good to have in our back pocket.
You can't have too many right now.
And Beth, there's another question that came up. There's actually several parts to this question, so I'll just try to highlight a couple things. But, you know, this person's asking if you combine books, you know, relating contemporary stuff, they're just expressing that they're overwhelmed by the fact that there's just so much on Musicplay Online and, you know, what should take priority. This person teaches 3rd through 6th grade.
Right. Yeah. Do you want me to address that part, Lisa?
You bet.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for asking and thank you for being here. I don't know, it always amazes me that people will come to the webinar. This is a treat to get to present, and thank you for the Musicplay team. Y'all just been more than gracious to me. The overwhelm is real, and I was joking with Stacy at the conference, we're going to start relabeling it robust. So Musicplay is not overwhelming, but it is robust, and robust is a great thing because there's so much there. Okay. So for combining books, I would say, here's my story. When I first had Musicplay, I had the online, but I also had the binders in my closet. And so I literally took the binders and with sticky notes and I would thumb through and mark things. And that was the first way that I got more comfortable. But I would say focus on one part at a time. You don't have to do the entirety of Musicplay. And you maybe, if you're feeling like you're overwhelmed, one grade level at a time with one concept on Musicplay. I will do note names with 3rd grade on Musicplay with the games. All of a sudden, you've taken that big, overwhelming piece and it's become a lot more manageable. And honestly, you don't even have to do all the games. I'll get comfortable with Coconut Chaos, 4th grade 3 for these note names. Mm-hmm. And just call it that. So you can definitely don't feel like it has to work for you. Pick one small thing, get your comfort level, and then when you feel more comfortable, add on.
Yeah, it looks like this viewer only has about 20 minutes, it says, to do choirs, to do stuff. So I think that single focus is really important.
Oh, yes, yes, yes. I would say there, if you have yeah, that goes so fast. Oh my goodness. I was so impressed with my colleague today. She is a Team EA All-State Choir Director, so there's that. But we had our first day of choir today. And literally, so I was helping check kids into the door. Choir started at 7:10. By 7:20, they were on risers and singing the very first day of the year of 5th grade choir with like 75 kids. It was a thing of beauty. So the more efficient you can be, the better. And like I said, also your learning management system, if that is all the time you get, I think it's a reality. They're going to have to be doing some things at home. So you might almost want to flip it with that student code and assign them things in Musicplay as part of their homework. Thank you, Stacy. Thanks for being here.
Let's see, I'll just do one more check and see if there's anything else here. Doesn't look like it, but Beth, like it's clear that you're a lifelong learner and master educator, and you've shared so much with us today. That's not only an asset, to our upper elementary students, but definitely to us as teachers. So thank you for sharing with us.
Thank you for having me, Lisa. Okay, I'm dying to know, are you the vocalist on the videos?
No, no, I
No?
mean, back, I did some with Denise. If you see that parody,
Yes,
yeah,
I
that's me.
I knew that. Yeah, that's amazing.
So yeah, my background is choral music, high school choral music, mostly in adults, but yes, indeed. So
Okay.
nice to meet you and so thankful that you were here today. So thanks everybody for your comments and participation, and have a really great night, everyone.
I enjoyed it so much, and thank you, Lisa. Pleasure to meet you. Bye, y'all. Have a great night.